The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. The 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. In 1869, Wyoming became the first state to allow women to exercise their right to vote. The struggle for that right to be federally guaranteed nationwide would last another 50 years until 1920, when the 19th Amendment was ratified. As we commemorate a century of women's suffrage, it is fitting to also celebrate local women who have made a positive difference in our community. Travel with us now through past decades to learn more about these visionary women.
Just look at those medical instruments. This doctor's bag is similar to the type that Sarah Stockwell would have carried in the early 1900s. Dr. Sarah Stockwell, the first female physician in South Bend. I wonder what it was like for you as a doctor in 1876. I bet downtown looks a lot different than when you set up your office. The streets are paved, for one thing. I can't imagine the challenges you likely faced. It's so much different today in 1953. Many doors were closed to women back then. Why, women couldn't even vote. The 19th Amendment wasn't passed until 1920. But you had a successful practice, received the respect of your colleagues, and were a member of the American Medical Association. I'm impressed. It's been quite a year for me. My practice, I'm an obstetrician, is going well. I think you would have been fascinated to know about another female physician, Dr. Virginia Apgar. She has devised a method for quickly assessing a newborn's health. The assessment is done immediately after birth. It has the potential for being a life-saving tool because it can help to determine if a newborn requires immediate medical care for life-threatening issues. And yesterday, for the first time, I heard those numbers being recorded in the delivery room. We doctors have a lot more tools than you did back in the 1870s. But you did it. You persevered. You had a good practice, and you helped many families with your medical knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Stockwell.
Votes for Women. What a valiant movement that was. I was first old enough to vote in every office on the ticket in 1924, only 4 years after the Women's Suffrage Amendment was ratified in 1920. I can't fathom not having the right to vote, let alone not having that right because I'm a woman. Thank you for your good work, Helen Beardsley. Did you carry a sign like that? I know you were the first president of the Indiana League of Women Voters. And what was your message? Urge women in your city to apply and work for these positions and have your leagues assist in every way possible. Oh yes, votes for women. What a major accomplishment that was indeed. But there is still work to do. For example, employment for women. I read that in 1920, women made up 20% of the workforce. Today, in 1963, that percentage has almost doubled. More women than ever are working, but there's still such inequality. I worked 20 years doing the same job as my male counterparts and was paid less because I'm a woman. How is that right? But thankfully, all of that is about to change. This week, on June 10th, 1963, President John F. Kennedy will sign the Equal Pay Act, completely abolishing the wage disparity based on gender. A woman in his administration, Esther Peterson, has been working through initiatives such as the Presidential Commission on the Status of Women. She's worked for years gathering data and organizing campaigns to help improve the rights of women, just as you helped to get the 19th Amendment ratified. Well, I'm retired now, so the Equal Pay Act won't affect me. but it will make a difference for my daughter and her daughters and many other women to come. Oh, come on, Helen, let's get busy. We still have work to do.
The Ingman Natatorium. Oh, that brings back memories. When I was a teenager, I could swim there with my friends. We'd spend hours splashing in that pool. My mother did not. My mother could not. Like me, she was a Negro, and Negroes were excluded from swimming in the natatorium when she was a teenager. It wouldn't be fully integrated until much later. Elizabeth Fletcher Allen would take the first steps toward ending that discrimination. In the 1930s, she became the first Negro female attorney in the city of South Bend and in the state of Indiana. She would devote her career to social injustices like the Ingman Natatorium. During World War II, she helped bring equity to war contracts in the Michiana industries for both Negroes and women. She was a trailblazer. And now, today, August 30th, 1966, Constance Baker Motley will be the first Negro woman appointed as a federal judge. She will preside over the U.S. District Court in the Southern Districts of New York. I once asked my mother about the days when she and other Negroes couldn't swim in the natatorium. She said, "Oh, that's all history now, child." I don't know what my mother thought, walking past the natatorium knowing that she couldn't swim there just because she was a Negro. I don't know what Elizabeth Fletcher Allen felt when she was working in her law office for civil rights. I don't know what Constance Baker Motley felt when she was appointed the first Negro woman judge. But each one of them in their own way has their own place in history.
Did they really wear skirts to play baseball?
Yes, they did. In 1943, when the South Bend Blue Sox first became a team in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the league thought it was a better image for these women if they dressed in skirts instead of pants. They also wore lipstick whenever they appeared in public. It was part of the league's rules.
I bet it hurt when they slid into a base.
Oh, I've seen pictures of the scrapes they used to get, and you're right, I bet it did hurt.
They must have loved to play.
Well, they were pioneers. They were the first women to be professional athletes. The South Bend Blue Sox was one of the first 4 teams formed in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. They played in all 12 seasons that the league was active.
Did you play baseball when you were in high school?
Well, I played softball, which is a lot like baseball. But back then, many schools only fielded teams that played school to school for the boys. The girls formed teams within the school, but we didn't have uniforms or much equipment.
That's odd.
Well, we didn't care for it much either. But 1972 is bringing big changes to all that. Congress has just passed a bill co-authored by Patsy Mink, who happens to be the first Asian American woman elected to Congress and the first woman from Hawaii. The bill, it's called Title IX. It prevents any discrimination in any educational programs or activities at any schools that receive federal funding. Athletics is included. So that means that all students, boys and girls, must be given equal opportunities in sports.
Are you glad?
Yes, I am. When you're in high school, you and all the other girls will have the same kinds of equipment and uniforms and practices and so forth as the boys in your school.
Do you think the South Bend Blue Sox would be glad?
I think they'd say we just hit a home run.
Hello, Mother Angela. My name is Clara, and I'm in the 7th grade. We're studying state and local history in school, and I have to write a report about someone who once lived in South Bend. I picked you because we live near the street that is named after you, Angela Boulevard. It says here you first became directress of St. Mary's College, only then it was St. Mary's Academy, in 1855. That's over 100 years ago. You were asked to come here by Reverend Edward Storen, who founded Notre Dame. I wonder what campus looked like then. I don't think the Golden Dome was there yet. In school, we saw a picture of downtown South Bend from around that time. There were some stores, but it looks a lot different now. It also says you led a group of Sisters of the Holy Cross to serve as nurses during the Civil War. I wonder if you were afraid. After that, you went back to St. Mary's. You introduced math and science courses to the curriculum. Wait, those are my favorite subjects. See this sweatshirt? I want to work for NASA someday, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. They launch rockets and astronauts into space. Last month, on June 18, 1983, an American woman traveled into outer space for the first time ever. Her name is Sally Ride, and she was aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. She's one of my heroes. I bet she took a lot of math and science classes when she was in school. I'm glad you thought math and science should be part of the curriculum when you were head of St. Mary's College. In some ways, you were a lot like Sally Ride because you seem very brave, just like her. You nursed wounded soldiers during the Civil War and traveled far from home to head a new school. I think you're one of my new heroes.
Oh, why do I try to do so many things in one day? Here it is, March 3rd, 2000, and the curtain goes up at 8 o'clock tonight at the Morris the Morris Performing Arts Center. That means that the doors open at 7 and the ushers, that's me, have to be there right at 6 o'clock sharp. Oh, I still have time to go home, get something to eat, change my clothes, and get back downtown. Okay, oh my gosh, just think, the grand reopening of the Morris the Morris Performing Arts Center. I have to get that right. This is my first time to usher and I'm just so excited. Oh, I have 15 more minutes. I have time. I've seen most of the exhibit. One more panel maybe. Let's see. As a philanthropist and arts and entertainment enthusiast, Ella Morris. That's who the Morris is named after. I know Ella Morris. Oh my goodness, in 1959, she saved the Palace Theater and the Palais Royal from demolition. Oh, my grandma told me about dances at the Palais Royal. Oh, Ella Morris purchased the property, she funded the restoration, and then she sold them back to the city of South Bend for $1. And they renamed it in her honor. Oh my goodness, Ella Morris provided endless support to the South Bend community. She funded the botanical gardens and other public venues. She was the founder of the South Bend Symphony Association. Oh, what else? She was a member of the South Bend Board of Education and the Women's Advisory Council of Notre Dame, and so many other things. Oh, what an amazing woman. Oh my goodness. Oh, darn it, I have to go. Oh, Ella Morris, I'm so glad I saw your picture. I will do a great job at the theater tonight, I promise. Oh, goodbye, Ella Morris, and thank you. Mwah.
Odie Mae Streets. That's not a name I'm familiar with. It says here she volunteered for many years in the 1970s and 80s as a teacher in the Head Start program with the South Bend Community School Corporation. I was in South Bend Community Schools in the 1960s and 70s. I started Marquette in 1965 and graduated from LaSalle in 1978. It's pretty cool to think that at that time there was an activist like Odie Mae Streets working in education to help others in the community. Her story makes me think of that young girl in Pakistan, Malala Yousafzai, that's her name. She's fighting for her life after being shot in the head just because she was working for the right to get an education. They don't even know if she's going to make it. Oh, I hope she does. There's been an outpouring of support for her from all over the world. It's horrible. Shot in the head just because she believes in the right to pursue learning, and she's only 15 years old. My parents always encouraged us to get good grades. My brothers and I worked hard and, well, pretty hard at our studies. I was also on the girls' swim team and the debate squad. I guess I had it pretty easy in school. It never occurred to me that it wasn't the same way for everyone. Let's see. Mrs. Streets was active in the local chapter of the NAACP in the early 1930s. During World War II, she worked at Ball Band in Mishawaka. She got her degree in Spanish from Indiana University. And she volunteered as a tutor, helping women who were living at the YWCA learn English. She sure did a lot for people in this community who wanted to learn. Odie Mae Streets. Now that's a name I intend to remember.
Miss Josephine Curtis, what a beautiful dress you wore. It was elegant and sophisticated, a style right in your day. Oh, how beautiful it was. Even though our decades apart don't diminish me from my admiration for you as a woman who accomplished many things, an African-American woman. I'd like to think that I, too, who have passion for the arts, was something like yours was. Opportunities for me came a little bit easier than I believe came for you. After all, I didn't have to establish my own African-American theater group like you did in the 1930s. The Harry Thacker Burleigh Music Association, that's so impressive. You worked alongside people in the day who we know today. Georgia Ward Bryant, James Lewis Cassidy. Your professional standards earned your company a reputation as an artistic pillar of the community. And to think that in 1949, the Burleigh Music Association made international headlines when it debuted its first opera performance, Wanga, right here in South Bend, Indiana. What a triumph! I myself focus more on dance than vocal music. I have taken ballet for many years now, and I even dreamed of being on the stage when I was younger, but that never quite came across now. But I do teach ballet now. You would be so thrilled to know that we have an artist who shares our dedication to the performing arts. Misty Copeland, the first African-American woman to be principal ballerina of an American Ballet Theater in its 75-year history. A Black woman, principal ballerina. I can almost hear your applause right now.
Although the 19th Amendment was celebrated as a monumental advancement for women's suffrage, it is important to remember that many groups continued to face barriers on the way to the polls, and there were other important milestones to come, including the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In the decades since ratification, women have continued to achieve breakthrough accomplishments in law, medicine, education, sports, philanthropy, the arts, and many other fields. The right to vote places them on a more level playing field with men and provides a source of equity. For women of the past and the future, that was and is their simple request.